So, Mac, executive scouts, front office types, top 10 ranking wide receivers for on ESPN. Number 1, Devontae Adams. Number 2, DeAndre Hopkins. Stephon Diggs, number 3, which is a little bit of a surprise. Tyreek Hill, 4. Julio Jones, 5. Both Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry in the honorable mention receiving votes. One AFC executive on Landry. One of the toughest players in football. He's an underrated route runner, but neither in the top 10.
Yeah, and you know what, Dave? Honestly, that doesn't really surprise me, to be quite honest. I think that Jarvis Landry, you mentioned the underrated route running. He's somebody who is really proficient in that area. And I think that that's where he gets a lot of his wins. He, at least coming out of college, he wasn't necessarily the most athletic player, but he knew how to win when it came to the technical side of football. And it came to, in his routes and at least his sure-handedness. So, I think that Landry, he's somebody who, the fact he's being mentioned in there, phenomenal. And you mentioned those top 5 guys, all great talents. And when it comes to Odell, I think that part of this is because of the fact that, he has been injured over the last couple of years. I do think that, if he does have a big season this year, I think all of a sudden he could get vaulted back into that top 10 space. And I do think that he's somebody whose name alone garners respect. And, I know you talked about earlier this week with Jalen Ramsey even mentioning him in the top 3 guys that he has to cover. So, he's somebody who garners respect at that point. And if he's able to come back and show what he can do, and if he shows, some of that ability that he had early on in his career as well, I do think that he's going to find himself back in that top 10.
And, it kind of goes, an AFC scout on Beckham basically said the same thing. Injuries are a concern. If he's healthy and in his prime, play in and play out, not sure there's anyone else that you can line up against that he can dominate. Now the question is, can he still dominate? And we'll find that out. He has put his body in as good a position as he could, from everything we've seen and heard, to be able to go out and be the old Odell.
Yeah, and as Stephen A. mentioned it, in the video clip from last segment, I know he's not trying to play for the LA Lakers, but at the same time, he's showing that athletic ability. He's able to get to that top speed that you want to see from Odell Beckham. And I really want to see, how is he able to cut at full speed, getting to that next point. I do think that, if Odell all of a sudden is able to translate that speed into his route running, into his ability to win on the field, I do think that all of a sudden Odell is going to be able to take this offense to new heights because of, that threat that you see down the field. And that was missing, in that game against Kansas City last year. All of a sudden, if you get Odell in that deep threat type of a role, where all of a sudden he can take any play to the house, and he showed that in the Cowboys game last year, all of a sudden that completely opens up this offense. And that all of a sudden just gives more opportunities for Odell, Jarvis, as well as guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz as well.
Yeah, and the thing to keep in mind, Odell has not played with a quarterback that has an arm like Baker Mayfield. No offense to Eli Manning. He wasn't the greatest at deep throwers. So there is some value to that. Let's see if he can get back to the health.